Do you like practical comparisons between swords? I sure do. A while ago I was approached by a company called Swordis and asked if I would like to try a sword I put together in their custom katana builder. I told them to shove it, no just kidding. Not sponsored by the way, in the sense that I'm not getting paid or otherwise incentivized to do or say whatever they want. Got a free sword, which is cool, but no strings attached, which is how I like it. So I went with an 83 to 84 centimeter or 33 inch blade, longer than usual to appeal more to my longsword bias taste, made of crucible steel with Fuji style hamon or temper pattern. I picked an Okisaki, an elongated tip that I find more appealing and that would be better for thrusts too. Double bohi, aka fullers, a red samegawa and black silk ito wrap, which makes for a nice contrast. And a whole array of other options for the fittings that I'm not going to bore you with. And from Lancelot Chan I also got a reproduction of a 16th century Yao Dao or Saber belonging to Hong Taiji, the founder and first emperor of the Qing Dynasty. Same deal, no strings attached. Unsurprisingly, as a high prestige sword, it's rather elaborately ornamented with an open work brass guard. The original was gold-plated iron. The blade is a pattern welded combination of 1065 carbon steel and T9 tool steel. Weight-wise, they're not far apart. The katana is a mere 100 grams heavier. Of course, the katana has a longer handle, but the blade is only 8 centimeters, a bit over 3 inches longer, while the dowel is much wider. My first impression of the dowel was mixed. It's quite an impressive, flashy design, but at first I didn't like how thin the handle is relative to its width. At this point, I've gotten used to it though and don't mind anymore. It's definitely what you'd call an authoritative sword, and I don't mean the status of the owner. The blade feels hefty and powerful, like an aggressive cutter. Let's see how it does and how the two blade shapes compare in hands-on, or I suppose edge-on tests. And here's my first impression of how the katana handles. Feels good.
Yeah, it's got a good balance to it. It is a little bit more forward heavy, but for cutting you'd want that, so.
Yeah, I quite like the wrap. The knots are often really tall and firm, which I don't like. Just like, it feels like it gets in the way. Like, yeah, traction is good, but this is better. This is actually a lot better. This is just right, where you have a really firm grip on it, but it's not irritating. Again, to me, personal preference. Yeah, I really like how it handles.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it tip heavy, but it's like, it balances a little further out, but in a good way. It's surprisingly light for the size, I have to say. Before we get to the tests, here's the first and quite possibly only sponsorship of this year. You know, as picky as I've always been with sponsorships, I've gotten even pickier. Quite frankly, 95% of offers I get are either fishy, trashy, or completely random and unrelated to what I do and not something I personally care about. So, back to Thorum. This one, the Magni, is my favorite. It's ceramic with synthetic fire opal and ironwood. Although I don't wear it as much as the Osiris because this one here is a little more wear resistant. It's tungsten carbide with gold titanium plating. I often end up scratching rings, handling hard abrasive materials, and this one has held up quite well. These are made in a small family-run workshop, and you can see the long experience. Thorum was founded by Caleb and Steph Martin in 2012, so they've been at it for a long time. There's a wide range of materials available. Aside from tungsten and ceramic, as mentioned, there's also pattern welded steel, meteorite, fossilized dinosaur bone, antler, various kinds of wood, including from whiskey barrels and World War II rifle stocks. Lots of different designs to choose from as well, with varying levels of fanciness, if you will. There's sizers to figure out exactly what you need, which in my case worked out perfectly. It's just the right fit. So if you're looking for wedding bands or anniversary rings or just something cool to wear in everyday life, check out the link down below to thorum.com and use my code SCAL20 for 20% off this one right here. At that time my messed up right elbow was still pretty bad, so I couldn't do too much, but thankfully I had help. Yeah, that's awkward with the left. I mean, wasn't even too bad. That might have gone all the way if I had been closer, and if my left arm understood how swords work. The edge alignment was a little off there, as you can see by the slight curve in the cut. Ridiculously steep, but it did it. It's bent. probably going to be pretty difficult to show, but...
No, yeah, yeah.
Earlier that day we had done some tests on the head from Ballistic Dummy Lab, and funnily enough the bend may not have been from that. At least none of us noticed at the time, although my guess is that it had probably already taken a bit of a set then. We also tested a different katana with an unusually strongly curved blade. That one's from Yomikuni, and it did noticeably better, well, at least with rising cuts. Downward cuts, not so much. I think the issue with the one from Swords was that the warp in the blade is probably misaligning the edge during cuts to some extent. So, what about the dowel?
Yep.
Ooh. Alright, that was effortless. Holy hell. I was not prepared for a left-handed cut to be that crazy smooth. I almost didn't feel that. I wasn't even powering it that much, but it was still more than I needed. Yeah, that one is forgiving. It's got so much cutting power that even if it's a bit scalloped, it's still... In fact, the scallop is clean, even then.
Yeah.
With the custom katana, we didn't try the rolls that had hardwood dowels, because the ones without core were already giving us trouble. Let's see about a more challenging target. Soaked newspaper rolls wrapped around polypropylene pipes to simulate bone. I got these from Lancelot Chan, and I definitely agree with him that they're significantly more difficult to cut, especially cut cleanly, than tatami mats. Usually when cutting with single-handed swords, I limit my expectations, because you don't have the same kind of control as you do with both hands on the handle. But this Chinese Saber reproduction here has been doing remarkably well so far, and I want to test it some more. And while the newspaper rolls with PPR core finish soaking, there's something else I can try here. Empty bottle. It's quite difficult to cut generally. And there we go. Not the prettiest cut, but they worked. And now the rolls, soaked in water for half an hour that we were supposed to. This is the thinner one. Let's see how it goes. That was not difficult. Tore the paper just a little bit at the end. So could have been better, but not bad. I'm gonna keep alternating between the two, which I think is the fairest way to do it. Okay, that was pretty similar, it looks like. Okay, now backhand cut, first with a dowel. That was only partial, so I'm just going to redo that. That felt very smooth. Same thing with two hands, which should be easier. That made it about 3/4 of the way through. Probably just messed it up. Keeps wrecking my tarp. Most of the way was just stopped by the core, which is pretty hard and tough. Just gonna quickly finish it off. Or not. More difficulty than I would have anticipated. Onto the thickie. It's too large. It doesn't fit in here. Gotta improvise. So now I've made it even more difficult by adding an extra pipe. Shouldn't make that much of a difference, but a little bit. How about a rising cut for a change? That's more difficult. Looking at this, I'm surprised it didn't go all the way through. Very close. Let me just get that here. I must have thrown it off right at the end. Generally more difficult because it's so floppy. There's not a whole lot I can do about that right now. So it needs more velocity, basically. Uh-oh. I don't know what I took out there, but that didn't sound good. That just finished off the same cut. Yeah, I'd rather not do that again because it catapulted that piece into the pegboard with my tools. No harm done, but still. Just going to do it from the other side, which is going to be more difficult. At least I find rising cuts from the right more difficult. Yeah, not a great job there. That did very little. Now it's awfully high up. No idea if I have any chance here. Yeah, didn't expect it to work. Although it's not even too bad. Yeah, just a bit of an awkward angle. Okay, I'm gonna try to cheat, or rather make it more even. This is clearly intended for single-handed use, but I'm gonna cram the other hand in there just so that it's 2 hands with each. That was easy. I'll do my best to reproduce that cut as precisely as I can. I'm gonna put my hands closer together than I normally would, just so that everything is the same. That's not what I expected. It almost made it, but not quite. Okay, time to finish it off. Not as clean as I would have liked, but decent enough. I mean, that's looking pretty good though. So in terms of perceived difficulty, subjectively I would say this is making it easier than the katana, which is weird because, as I said, normally with 2 hands, it's a whole lot better. It's very sharp, and just like a katana, the grind goes all the way through to the edge, highly polished. Difference is just that it's broader. There's a price to pay for such a sharp, thin edge though. It deforms a lot more easily. Not that the katana blade didn't get damaged. It's just a little less severe than the broader, thinner blade. If you want to see some more of the Dao's cutting power in action, I also tested it on a ballistic gel dummy. The video is linked in the description below. So overall, I would not have expected the single-handed Dao to rival or even outcut the two-handed katana, but it did. Aside from staying straight, which helps, that's mainly due to the width of the blade. It thins out more gradually than the narrower blade does. A thinner blade means less resistance on the target, but of course also more potential for damage. Well, I hope you found this interesting. The links to the swords are in the description. Check that out, and thanks for watching. Take care.